Hi everyone, Anioł here. I warmly welcome you to the channel. In this episode, we will discuss a really important event. At first glance, one might think, hey, just a standard hero dismantling. Yes, we are talking, of course, about the token recovery event. However, for an account like mine, it is a huge event that will decide how we play. Yes, on a free-to-play account, this is a truly powerful event, and importantly, what we have to say about it is that initially, many people thought, that if we dismantled G1 heroes, for example, if we dismantled someone like Thea, we would get G1 tokens. But nothing could be further from the truth. Even for dismantling a G1 hero, that is from the first generation, we receive G3 tokens. And that completely turned my plans upside down. Of course, it is a very good change, but I have a bit of a dilemma now. Personally, I am wondering what to do with Thea. I don't use her currently, but in case I switch to elves, well, a Thea is useful when we are flying around somewhere, right? However, currently, this Thea is bench warming for me, and I would receive 224 tokens, thanks to which I could awaken, for example, Urag. And that is exactly the point, but what to do? But perhaps before we delve into my account, let's discuss all the heroes that I would personally recommend building, and who I would recommend them to, right? So before we start, I remind you to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you appreciate this content more, you can become a supporter of this channel, for which I thank you in advance. So let's move on to those heroes. Maybe we'll start from the very end. In my case, it will be Garwood. I have already dismantled Garwood. In general, we are recording this episode for the second time, so maybe I'll throw in what I did at the beginning somewhere, but as I say, the situation got more complicated than I thought and I decided to record this episode again. So what do I think about Garwood? Generally, I don't recommend building Garwood for anyone. You can dismantle him. Ultimately, if someone wants to have 5 infantry marches, then sure, you can keep him, you can build him, but generally, I don't recommend Garwood. Yes, as for Nicodem, I dismantled him myself. Maybe I'll show you a clip of me dismantling him. Even as an archer main, I think you don't need him. Personally, I don't have 5 archer marches yet, but I very rarely play 5 marches anyway. So Nicodem was dismantled. And those tokens helped me upgrade my cavalry, and honestly speaking, I don't regret it. I think anyone can dismantle Nicodem, even an archer main. Let's move on to Mew. I think you can go ahead and build Mew. If you play with mages, definitely. Mew is truly great. Some people might use her for archers too. Theoretically, it works, but I wouldn't build her specifically for archers. I would maybe build her for cavalry as well. She can do something there. So, Mew is quite universal. People use her in cavalry, they use her in mages. So if you play these units, I highly recommend building Mew. As for Tohar, well, the situation depends on your account and whether you like him or not. Some people dismantle him, others build him. As I said, I leave that choice up to you. It's not a bad choice if you build him, but you can just as well dismantle him. G3 infantry. It will be very interesting here when it comes to G3 infantry. Personally, if you aren't an infantry main, I absolutely wouldn't recommend building them. Dismantle Danful, dismantle Magro. Maybe we'll do that right now. We'll dismantle Magro since I have a few tokens, so let's do it now. A few tokens will definitely come in handy. I don't need Magro, I have 1 infantry march for now, Garesh and Kuma. And I think everyone should have an infantry march like that. Even if you are a free-to-play account, I think everyone should use at least that 1 infantry march. But what is very important, and we'll come back to this because I almost forgot, before we even start this event, right? Before we start this event, I recommend you open your chests. I've already opened these chests, and I'll give you a clip here of what I got from them. I will also show you my choices. Yes, sure, I am an archer main in quotes, but as you can see, we have only cavalry here because I already have the archers I need. So the rest of the heroes we'll be drawing here from the chests will be cavalry. Sometimes I run 5 marches, sometimes 4 and an infantry legion, but more on that later when we get to Skogul. And here are 2 heroes I'm considering. Actually just 1, which is Tiha, because I don't want Magro either, obviously. The 2nd infantry legion we'll be building will be G6 infantry on this account. and I think that for a free-to-play account, 2 infantry legions is more than enough. However, Thea is one big mystery to me, and we'll talk about her later too. That's what my choice looks like. And I recommend you open those keys. Use all the keys you have before you move on to this event. If you don't have many heroes built, so let's get back to those heroes. We finished on Magro, right? G3 infantry. I don't recommend building it to anyone, unless you are infantry mains. If you want to run 5 infantry legions, then sure. And the same applies to Garwood and Madeline, of course, but Madeline is already here. We'll get to her in a moment. As for Talia, much like Tohar, is situational. If you have Junming and want to use Talia, then by all means, you can use her. It is enough to build Talia to 551. And such a Junming Talia march is truly brilliant. So it depends on your account, which characters you have and which you don't, but Talia is also worth considering to build. As for Madeline, I recommend everyone dismantle her. Unless you are infantry mains and you want or need 5 infantry marches at this moment, then of course Madeline can stay. Emrys, if someone is a cavalry main, one can definitely build Emrys. If you are not a cavalry main, then I think it is better to build Urag, right? And simply dismantle Emrys. Unless you have some cavalry and you are not a main, but it is your secondary unit, then of course Emrys can stay. However, as for cavalry itself, we will talk about that in a moment as well. When it comes to archers, I also think Kanara can be dismantled. Nico and Kanara have been left far behind if we compare them to G3, G4, or G5. Now there are even G6 archers, who are definitely better than Kanara, so you can dismantle Kanara. For me, however, Kanara will stay for now, because I skipped G5 archers, so to have those 4 archer marches, I still need Kanara. So Kanara will stay with me, but I do not recommend you build her. Thea is brilliant if you play mages. I think she is useful if you also play elves and want to fly around and hunt somewhere, then Thea can also come in handy. However, I haven't been using elves lately, so I have a dilemma about what to do with Thea. Because with the tokens we have here, I could awaken Urag, for example, and I think that would be a good move. But on the other hand, if I ever return to elves, then someone like Thea and Flying Legions, since we don't have many flying heroes yet, could really be useful to me. Although, if you play mages, I believe Thea is S tier and everyone should awaken her. I think the meta for flying mages might arrive soon, so keep that in mind. And if you play mages, I think everyone should have Thea. Nika, as for this hero, I personally do not recommend anyone build her. Spread it out, make yourselves, I don't know, a better one. Unless, as I said before, you really want those 5 infantry marches, Nika can stay, but generally, I don't recommend building Nika for the average player. Baxi Cavalry. If someone has, mains cavalry, or uses cavalry as a secondary unit type, it can absolutely stay. Emrys and Baxi are still doing okay. For now, this hero can stay. Yes, but do I recommend building him? If you don't have many cavalry units, don't use them much, and have no other heroes, then other heroes take priority here. As for Velen, personally, I also don't recommend building him. I think we could build other heroes instead of Velen. Unless you main mages and want to use him, then sure, you can still use him, but you know, G6 mages are coming soon, so he might be sidelined. Unless it's your secondary unit type, then Velen can certainly be kept. As for Bachorn, I've been a fan of flying units lately. Maybe I'm not flying right now because I'm playing orcs, but mages or forest eagles can cause a lot of chaos when they fly. And for someone like Bachorn, it might be controversial, but I would recommend building him. You all know perfectly well how troublesome and annoying such flying legions can be. And just imagine if the whole alliance had those 3 legions of flying mages, right? And such a swarm attacked you somewhere while you were trying to build something. A nightmare, right? And I think that could be the meta. That might be the meta for flying legions sooner or later. And I would still recommend building Bachorn if you play mages, or if you main, maybe it's a strange word, but if you main forest eagles as well. As for Friggar and Cindrion, those archers, well, with a heavy heart I have to tell you that I wouldn't recommend building them, and generally, if I had more archer heroes, I would dismantle them and build cavalry. However, at the moment, I don't have 5 archer legions, I don't even have 4, so for me, Cindrion and Fergar still have to stay, but in general, I don't recommend building them. Theodore and Ferrandel. Ferrandel is great. I think he's really solid, and I can recommend Ferrandel if you play cavalry. As for Theodore, opinions here are divided. I still use him, so those who want to can build him, and those who don't can skip him. But sometimes, when I'm running 5 cavalry legions, a hero like Theodore comes in handy. However, it's not really a priority. Skogul is a very interesting character. My Skogul is 5111. I use Skogul mainly to slow down legions when I'm running 4 cavalry legions and 1 infantry legion. In that case, obviously, I use Skogul. And I think she is very situational, but I believe everyone can have her even at 11. I don't think her charge gives a huge amount of room for plays. You can pull off all sorts of strange moves thanks to Skogul. And I personally think everyone should have Skogul, even in such a low configuration, just to be able to make a play. As for Goresh, I think he is a priority hero in this event if someone doesn't have him yet, although I think everyone should already have him. Like I said, everyone should have that 1 infantry march at this point, and there are no excuses. I personally use Goresh and Kuma. My Goresh is 5551. I don't need to do more, but you can definitely build Goresh yourself. If you don't have an infantry legion, this is the perfect opportunity to finally have one. Bertrand. As for Bertrand, I believe everyone should build him. This is the perfect opportunity. Every mage main. Maybe I phrased that poorly. Yes, as I was saying, the meta for flying mages and weird plays could emerge sooner or later. Remember that the developers said there will be more choke points on the maps so that weaker teams have more places to defend. And in those cases, flying mages might be the future. Mark my words, and let's move on to Magrad and Zejda. Generally, I don't recommend playing archers. You know my stance on archers. I think you can do the same thing with mages, and even better. However, when it comes to Magrad, if you need 1 marksman legion because you have those units somewhere, creating and training them, this is the perfect opportunity to have an archer legion. And remember that you can also use this legion alongside magic legions. Maybe this legion isn't currently in the meta and a true mage main might not use them, but if you lack heroes or legions, then you can consider Magrad and Zejda. The next hero in line is Urag. As for Urag, I think he is an S-tier character in this event and everyone should build him. Honestly, he is probably the best hero of them all if you think about it, and even if you don't use cavalry too often, just like with Magrad, Zejda, that cavalry is being trained somewhere all the time. If you want to make use of the cavalry legions you have in your city, you have the opportunity to get a truly great cavalry hero, and I think this is a very good moment to build Urag. As for Tobin, opinions here are also very divided. I personally use him, but you don't have to build him. He's not really a priority, so you can skip him or build him up, but you can also play with him, and there won't be any problem if you main cavalry, of course. However, if you don't main cavalry and just want 1 cavalry march you can use, then I recommend building Urag, and I think everyone has some Bakshi or Emrys, so you can easily send out such a march. Of course, when it comes to a single cavalry legion in the meta right now, Agnar with Goresh and Neo with Kuma are meta, but I think even Urag with Kuma could somewhat work if you wanted to rush from the city into mage legions standing nearby. I do think that should also work somehow, but I'm telling you up front, I haven't tested it yet. Now let's move on to the last hero, Tandalin. Similar to the situation with Tohar and Talea, I leave the choice up to you. However, I think Tandalin is very useful when it comes to fighting at the bastions. We can cut off reinforcements so they don't enter the bastions or rallies. So Tandalin really does have her place in the meta. In the open field, some might say she doesn't produce insane reports, but she provides really powerful debuffs, and I personally think you can go ahead and build Tandalin. I'm not doing it because I don't main mages, so my Tandalin will remain at 300 for now. When there are more events and I'm not building anyone else, we'll max her out to those 16 tokens, but currently, I'm using her specifically for bastion fights to cut off reinforcements. So, you've heard my opinion on the heroes. And honestly, the heroes I can recommend to you with a clear conscience are, of course, Urok for everyone. I think everyone can build him. Garesh, everyone should have him. One infantry march is something I think everyone should have, and it's quite a nice infantry march. Garesh with Kuma. If you play mages and main mages, then the situation is different, because I recommend you build Tiha, I recommend you build Bachorn, and I recommend you build Bertrand. Believe me, you will have mega fun when attacking opponents. And the opponent won't be able to touch you. And of course, Mew, I recommend building Mew as well. So we actually have 4 heroes. For mages, we have 6 heroes, right? But for the average player, we have these 3 heroes. We have Mew, we have Garesh, and we have Urag. I would recommend this trio to anyone with a clear conscience. As for mage mains, I think Bertrand, Bachorn, which might be controversial for many, but trust me, once you start flying, you'll love it. And, of course, Thea. So, mage mains have a slightly larger selection when it comes to this event. But the average player who doesn't have many heroes, yet wants the meta, wants the best meta hero marches. Well, I obviously recommend building Mew, I recommend building Garesh, and I recommend building Urag. Let me know if you agree with my suggestions here for weaker players who don't have these marches. Because obviously, if someone mains mages, they probably have all those mages anyway, so they could, I don't know, spread their heroes out and build some cavalry, right? Which wouldn't be stupid, but for a regular, average player, I think Urag, Garesh, though everyone should have him already. And Mew, although Mew is also more for magic legions, even though we see her in cavalry as well. So let me know again what you did with those tokens, who you invested in, and overall I think it's a great event to build that second unit type you want to play, or max out your primary unit type if you don't have those tokens yet. I am personally building cavalry right now. And I'm thinking a lot about what to do with Thea. I would have an additional 224 tokens. There would be places to spend those tokens, but on the other hand, Thea can fly. If I change my faction to elves, she could be useful to me, right? That's why I'm in a dilemma, but you can write in the comments what you would do in my place. I already invested in Nicodemus here. I still have some Gen 3 tokens left. They should be around here somewhere. I can still upgrade something, and actually, maybe let's upgrade this to finish off. What can I do with these heroes? We can't divide them by generation here, so what? Personally, I would upgrade my cavalry a bit. I can still awaken Urag. Yes, but since, regarding the one cavalry march I use, it's either Nika and Kuma, or Agnar and Garesh anyway. And as for a cavalry 5 bomb, awakening Urag would give me fewer percentage points if I use the tokens here than if I spread those tokens out on other heroes. And I think that's exactly what I'll do. Maybe it would be worth awakening Ferondel as well. I'm not far off there either. And that skill is brilliant. This one is also not bad, so who knows? Maybe I'll just awaken Ferondel. How many were there? 160 tokens. Yes, maybe I'll do this Ferondel. Yes, I think we'll do that. Well, I think I'll awaken Ferondel, and we'll wait a bit longer for Urag. Awakening Ferondel is also not bad, especially since we have defense break here, which can also be useful when we're trying to one-shot someone. And Urag will only give us damage from what I remember. Exactly, it will increase damage a little, and I think that Ferondel might be more useful to me. I don't know what to do with these tokens, you know? If I dismantled Thea, I would have enough to awaken 2 heroes, or maybe even 3, and that would be beautiful. That would be truly beautiful. I can also upgrade Theodoric, I think. I would like to upgrade this skill of his. Now, at the start, Theodoric has plus 60% skill damage on the first rage proc, so that's something great. I also still use Theodoric, a tough choice, but I think I'll awaken Ferondel, you know. But then I won't have Ferondel awakened. Well, if I were playing with elves and flying, maybe Thea could be useful somewhere. No, it's a tough piece of bread. What to do here? Should I dismantle her or not? Well, an awakened Urag would be like for jumping out of cities. Brilliant with elves, right? Something beautiful. I don't know what to do with these tokens. It drives a man crazy. No, this event is beautiful, but well, troublesome. It is also troublesome, but let's use these tokens. Let's use these tokens to get it over with. I don't think I'll awaken the G1s for now. Let the G1s just sit there. I don't have a need to awaken Tobin either. Let's just pick cavalry heroes in general, because that's what we'll be working on. We have the archers done. So yeah, Baxi, well, he has a cool awakening. He would get a little more damage and a little HP, but I think the priority for me will still be Ferondel after all. Honestly, the defense break will come in handy. We don't have that effect yet. And it might help me with a one-shot, right? So we'll probably go with these tokens and give them to Ferondel. We'll do exactly that. Or maybe there's enough for Urag too. Who knows? It should probably even be enough. Click and click. We have Ferondel's awakening, then maybe stars if any are left, but for now, I'll focus on the G6 archers. After all, I still consider myself an archer main, right? So what now? Oh no, Urag is missing much more, because I thought he was also 5,553, but here he is 551. But either way, let's give these tokens to Urag. There will be crates sometime later, so we'll do it then. I use cavalry quite a lot, so it's not a problem. Well, for now, it's 5,552. So that's what my heroes look like after the changes. We've upgraded our archer cavalry. As for the archers, there wasn't anything to upgrade. I'll show you my archers as well. As you can see, I don't have G5 archers because I made G6 cavalry, not G5, sorry. And now we're going to make ourselves G6 archers. So I have the heroes for the archers, but I think we still have some G5 tokens. Or do we not have G5 tokens? We have G5 tokens I could use here, but it probably won't be enough for a skill. Exactly, it won't be enough for a skill, so wait, there won't be any more G5 tokens, right? Either way, we'd have to put them in and distribute them, but no, we won't waste universal tokens because we're doing G6 now. We'll be pulling soon. Maybe the next episode will be about the pulls. As you can see, I still have some of those tickets, so we'll definitely have new archers. I wanted to start with that, but I decided that this hero dismantling event is definitely more interesting, or at least more important for my account right now. Because the new G6 archers won't be fully built yet, I still have few of those tokens, but we'll slowly get them built. I have very few universal tokens, but we'll build them. We won't test them at a low setup and we'll see. Anyway, that would be it for this episode. I'll be saying goodbye here and let me know what you would do in my place with Taya. Is it worth dismantling her or just keeping her in case I ever go back to elves someday and want to fly around a bit? Well, that's all for this episode. You know what to do. Take care. Bye.